Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sippin Selling
with Joey Chanel. Welcome back to another episode of Sippin Selling. Today, my guest is Jay Williams from Freebird Water. Water is my favorite beverage to drink, and I'm very excited to have Jay here. He is my first guest who owns a water company. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you too. Jay and I met through my good friend, Sam Anderson. I know you guys have seen Sam on the show before as well. He's a great connector. Jay was on my episode of Sam's podcast, and he was asking some questions about Walmart. Like I said, Freebird is his product. There's a sparkling, and then there's a natural. That's what I'm sipping on. It's in a cup. I wanted to have these beautiful cans to display for this episode, but I do have a nice little bedazzled cup filled with water. So my palate and my whistle are wet. Jay, we talked about on that episode of Sam's podcast that you were going to present to Walmart. So do we have good news about Walmart?
We certainly do. Yeah. So when you and I spoke, we were right in the thick of it. I found myself sitting in a conference room in Bentonville, Arkansas. And to say that was a surreal experience would be an understatement. We had a great meeting with them. Came away feeling very optimistic, hopeful. And the good news is that some weeks later we got the word that we were in. So so starting in April we will be going into Walmart, which is fantastic.
Super. Are you going national? Are you starting with a pilot launch? What's the strategy?
So we're starting in the Southeast. We're still waiting for the exact store count and locations, but it will be the Southeast. So call it, give or take, 400 stores covering the Southeast. And then, of course, based upon our results, we will then, sort of begin moving beyond that footprint.
Amazing. Well, that's great big news for you guys. And I'm sure you have other retailers that are just as important as Walmart, but being on the retail side in my space, that is a huge undertaking. So I wish you all the best. It's great. It's a wonderful footprint to have. Water is what we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. It is my favorite beverage to drink. And like I said, Jay is the founder and owner of Freebird. And I would love to get your background story about how you got into the water business, Jay. Did you come from any sort of beverage industry prior to the water space, or no?
Not at all. I was a real estate developer for about 27 or so years. And I had always had a curiosity and interest in the beverage business. I can't really explain why necessarily, but it was always on the back of my mind. And luckily, I was able to have a little bit of, success in the real estate industry, which kind of allowed me to consider some other options at this point in my career. And so, I did the natural pivot from real estate to beverage. That's what everybody does, right?
Oh, yeah. Typical.
So I, going back, I guess, when I started just even thinking about this 2 years or so ago, I didn't know one thing or one person, nothing, zero, across the board. So some people might say it's a little nuts to kind of go from an industry where, people know you and you know what you're doing to going into the complete unknown. But I don't know. It didn't really scare me so much as much as it did just excited me. So and then the more I got into it, the more I realized that I felt like I was in the right place.
That's amazing. So we know now that water is becoming rapidly less of a white space. People are definitely trying to tap in and win that category. And I'm sure that a lot of people doubted you and probably said that, this place has already been the spot's kind of already been filled and there's not any more reasons to have other competitors. And I personally always feel like I talk about on the show that sometimes being the first isn't necessarily the best position to be in, because then anybody else who comes after you has the ability to basically look at your roadmap, see what you did wrong, and do it better. So I personally give you kudos that you saw something that you felt compelled and drawn to. You know, water is essential. It's something that's never going away. And I feel like more and more on my feed, all I see is about the microplastics and all the stuff that's been mentioned back in the day. So being that you guys did an aluminum tall boy can, I think that you were ahead of the trends to do that, because now that's really what everybody's trying to get everybody to walk away from. And that's going to put a lot of big time vendors in, a dangerous position. So I think that it's cool that you wanted to go into that space. I think that it is not, I mean, you had to have done well in the real estate business to choose an aluminum can, because it's expensive, right? Like, I feel like to do just the RTD world, the minimum order quantities are crazy high. So let's start from the very beginning there. You decide to go into water. What happened next? Was it the name? Was it the vessel? Did you, when you were setting up and doing these open houses, did you always gravitate towards a nice club soda in a can, and it gave you the idea? What was the origin story? I need to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So when I began thinking about this product, one of the things I did was started to visit some of these beverage conferences. And, I'm a newbie, going to these conferences. So I'm trying to soak it all in, learn as much as I could. That's where I met our good friend, Sam Anderson. But when I was doing that, I remember going to the first one I went to was the BevNet conference in Los Angeles, and I remember looking at all of the coolers where they've got all the new products and whatnot, and I remember seeing everything in aluminum, and I thought, well, maybe this is because we're in California, and sometimes things like this, start over on the West Coast, and maybe eventually make it, over on the other side. And so I just chalked it up to an anomaly. And then I went to another conference in New York several months later, and I saw the same thing. I saw aluminum everywhere, and I didn't see plastic bottles anywhere. Of course, all of the information about plastic had begun to be more prevalent out there. And so, and then, I guess from a branding standpoint, which ultimately was one of the reasons why I love aluminum cans, is because the branding opportunities are that much better. And then, of course, I can't ignore the original inspiration for the brand. It all came from my observation of liquid death. In all of my studying and research about the beverage industry, kept coming back to the fact that liquid death, first of all, at the time was about 5 years in and worth about $1 billion. That got my attention, of course. And then, of course, they effectively created a whole new category, which is hard to do, in the water space. But, when they came out with their product, very brand centric water, in an aluminum can. Of course, now they have, other products, but in seeing all that and seeing their success, the first thing that came to my mind was what they've done is brilliant. They've killed it, but it's not a product really for me. It's also not really a product for anybody I know. My wife has no interest in liquid death, and a lot of my friends felt the same. And so that's where the epiphany came from. Actually, I woke up at 4 in the morning with the idea, and it just occurred to me: blue collar, small town, everyday heroes, regular Americans. Where's a product that talks to them, that speaks to their values, what they represent? And so that's where it all came from. All the relatives on my mother's side were all farmers from a small town called Hazelhurst, Georgia. And I grew up, seeing, these great folks in action on a day-to-day basis. They love bringing me, the city slicker, in and made me, go out in the fields and pick peas or whatever. And it was awful. But But at the end of the day, these people were, the salt of the earth foundation of our country. And I realized immediately that that was something that I needed to develop as a brand because, some of these brands out there that are trying are oftentimes just a name and a slogan and a fancy design. But I really wanted to create a brand that was more than that, that meant more than that, that brought with it a feeling and ultimately, a brand that had a soul, some depth to it that people could really, I guess, get behind. And again, I'm selling water is a hard thing to do. So instead, I like to look at it as, I'm selling a feeling. And so that's where the whole Freebird feeling, comes into play.
I love that. See, I wasn't going to call out the original that I was talking about. So as long as you brought up Liquid Death, I will
Yeah.
say, yes, it is the antithesis of something so wild that we love. We love when something new comes and just shakes up the industry, whatever industry it is. And there was a lot of mistakes that owner made in other business ventures that he then took and, hit the nail on the head. And it wasn't easy. And the reason that I heard he chose all of this crazy name and all that was for exactly the opposite of what you're saying. Like, he just wanted to go viral and he just felt like people were going to be like, what the hell is this? It's the opposite of water. It's just like, let's drink
Yeah.
poison. It's
Yeah.
liquid death. And, and he's right, because I remember the first time I saw it was at a concert, and it was probably the year that it came out. So I don't know. I don't even know when it came out. I think it was 2017 or 18 or something like that. And I
Yep.
remember seeing someone carrying it around, and it was just like this, and I'm like, is that a beer? Like, what is that? And the name got me. So I get it. And that's why I talked to you about your water, because the name got me. I mean, Freebird is a song that everybody knows. And I want to hear how you were able to coin this brand. Like, I'm shocked that someone didn't have it trademarked for other materials outside of merch.
Me too. I was, back to that morning I woke up after, waking up in the middle of the night with this idea, and I was convinced that the name wouldn't be available. So I already had backup names, that I was working on. Yeah, thank goodness Leonard Skinnard and all of their greatness didn't trademark the name Beyond Music. So that left the rest for the taking. And so, there are other products out there that are named Freebird, but I was completely shocked that wasn't a problem for us. So, yeah, I got lucky there.
Love that. You have on here also that says, Mama said, Mama always said, clean up after yourself with your recycle logo. There's some fun things on here that go back to the selling a feeling, like you said. It sounds like a nice Southern mama that said that, but I'm a mama here too, and I say the same thing. And then you
Yeah.
have this beautiful message about the water and the Blue Ridge Mountains. So when you were trying to source and decide where to can your item, and you kind of talked about the vessel because you could do a lot more with the branding, you went back to Georgia. Are you using someone that already is in the water business possibly, or is this like a whole new business venture for them?
So it was really interesting. We got super, super fortunate that there was a family in the Blue Ridge Mountains that has this huge piece of land with a spring on it. And previously, another company had used it for a while, and then it went under a non-compete, I think for, I don't know if it was 5, 7 years or something. And we just happened to inquire right at the time where the non-compete was up, and they were open to someone coming in. So we got extremely lucky. I tell the story when I um, went to visit them, and they were great people. I went, to the Blue Ridge Mountains in Blue Ridge, Georgia, and I went to the spring source to try it. The first time I ever drank the product, I literally drank it out of the ground.
Wow.
And so, that's some trust right there. I didn't die. I'm all good. I twitch a little, but no, I'm
Ha
just kidding.
ha ha.
But no, I mean, but it was it was a testament to how great the water, how pure it was. I mean, it was perfect, honestly. And So that was a very, very fortunate component for us because we obviously at the end of the day, we're selling a brand, but you want the product to stand up and taste good, and it's great, and people love our still, and people love our sparkling. So somehow or other, we've done a pretty good job there.
I'd say so. I'm sipping on it myself, like I said, but I had to put in a big gulp with some
Yeah.
ice. Um, I I love that. I mean, it just sounds like all of the stars were aligning for you, and you have stars on your can, so it goes along with your
Yeah.
brands.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about, you take your savings from real estate, you find your source. Was I right about the minimum order quantities? Are they super high for aluminum? What's the shtick there?
Yeah, yeah. There's no dipping your toe into this business. And to be honest with you, there's a philosophical aspect of that for me. After doing as much research as I could, and just learning, and I'm still learning. I have a lot left to learn. But one of the things that occurred that I realized was a lot of brands out there, obviously in the beverage space, don't end up making it. Uh, there's always this argument of, can you go too fast? Can you go too slow? And there's categorical components of that as well. But in our space, the way I viewed it was, uh, if you dip your toe, you're not going to make it.
Mhm.
You just There's no way that you can compete on a larger scale against some of the whales out there, as well as even some of just the sort of mid-sized companies, because you're going to eventually run out of money trying just to kind of inch your way forward. And so what I said from the very very beginning was, I wasn't doing this as a hobby. I was doing this to go for it. And so in doing so, you got to make some commitments and take some risks. But that's my background. I was born an entrepreneur, like it's ingrained in me. And so that's how my brain operates. I just don't, I'm not good at just dipping my toe and doing little things. I like to kind of go all in. So that's what we did.
I love that. That's the true spirit of an entrepreneur. Definitely have to go all in, both feet. No, just not just the toes.
Not just the toes.
That'll be the title of this episode, not just the toes.
Yeah, that's good.
Hilarious. Okay, so we get a big order. We go in both feet. And then where do you start with water? Because I know there's not the same legalities. You guys have a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
So did we start in Georgia and just go around to local grocery stores? How did one get into the water business? How does this work for those aspiring to do the same?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things I did that I think were pretty good, I guess, if I'm giving myself some credit here.
You
One
can.
was that I partnered with some really smart people that come from the beverage world. There's a company called Beyond Brands out of New York, and they have collective experience of a million years in beverage. And so that was the first thing I did, because they helped me connect with the right kind of people to make sure that we were doing business with people really good at what they did. So that was a really important component. And also, I walk in the room in meetings and whatnot with some of those folks by my side, and it gives me some credibility that I may not, have myself in the beverage world. So that's number one. Number two, yes, the goal was to start off in the Southeast, in particular Georgia, and also we identified Tennessee, in particular Nashville, um, because we knew that Nashville, first of all, would be a natural for our product, but also just from a location standpoint, we just wanted those locations to be, 1A and 2A on our list. And so that's what we started with. One of the awesome things that happened was we met with United Distributors in Georgia, very well respected, huge name. I always say this, but somehow I tricked them into doing a deal with us, which was awesome because at the end of the day, you get a big distributor like that early on. It gives you just a whole lot of validity in the marketplace. And so with them, our expansion was a lot easier to manage and navigate, and specifically C stores. We wanted to start in C stores, start to prove ourselves, and gradually, work our way beyond that. And that's what we've done. And the strategy has, you know, thankfully worked. And we've got distributors now all throughout the South we're working on. And obviously, Walmart has opened up a lot of doors. And so the velocity and trajectory of our retail footprint is, I mean, we are uh, practically three times what we had originally projected already. So we're on fire,
That's amazing. Yeah,
which is cool.
that's so great, Jay. I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, so Walmart is the biggest, I'm assuming. What other retailers did the distributors help you get into? And for those of you listening that are not avid Sippin and Seller listeners, you should be. C stores are like the gas stations and the Wawas of the world. And what else in your states over there, Jay?
Well, tons of independents. There is an enormous network of independent C stores. The Magic Markets of the world. The just the this sort of a lot of your mom and pops. A lot of small chains. Maybe an owner will own like 5 or 10 stores, something like that. Usually in a local footprint. But what that led to was now we've got a deal with Circle K. I think we're going in just shy of 1,000 stores here. It's all happening now. We also got another chain out of North Carolina called Handy Hugo's, which was fantastic. And I think they're like 160 stores, something like that, and several others very similar to that that have just kind of happened. This has happened both through our distributors' efforts, but also through our own. We've really been pounding the pavement, and I think because we have a story that people seem to like, it's made the inroads into some of these stores a little bit. I won't say it easier, but I think that people have been a lot more receptive. And in particular, I think, when going back to Liquid Death, everybody always wants me to like, battle Liquid Death and say bad things about them, but there's no reason to. I don't even see our customers really overlapping very much. I feel like that, what I said all along is just put me on the shelf right next to them. The Liquid Death people will pick Liquid Death and our people will pick us, and everybody's happy. I don't think the overlap will be tremendous, but the one thing that we have seen is a lot of stores, and this is not my words, but a lot of stores maybe aren't as fond of Liquid Death for whatever reason they may have, and they love our message. And so one of the things that that I tried to instill in our team and just our whole strategy was I don't want to give stores or consumers, anybody out there, a reason not to like us. Liquid Death has some things about them that are unique to them, and you may or may not like them. With us, we're trying to spread a positive message. And yeah, sure, if you don't like America, then maybe that doesn't work for you. But otherwise, we haven't had a whole lot of objections to our brand, and we compare really nicely with Liquid Death. I like to say it's like good versus evil, but I mean that more in jest. But at the end of the day, I love the kind of juxtaposition we have in the market.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, of course, people are going to always be like, battle. That's what I was saying. It sucks sometimes to be the first. And like I said, they did it. I'm sure that if you speak to Mike, I think his last name's Cesario, whatever,
Yeah.
he's going to say things that he found roadblocks with or made mistakes with. I think if I remember his story correctly, he tried to do a spirit brand back in the day. I think he tried to do like a bourbon or brandy or something. I don't know, but he said like he came from the advertising world or marketing world or whatever, and like that's what his concept was. Like this is like a joke basically, right? Like the name, the package, all intentional. He was a skateboarder or something, so like it speaks to that community. And basically they were going after all the people that were in pro sports. Like my husband, I told you he's in the motocross world, so they were going after the monster drinkers, the energy drinkers, and that's why they chose the can, because all of them were sponsored by Monster or whatever. And everybody behind the scenes is like, this is a joke. It's full of caffeine. It's full of sugar. These athletes are not drinking this. So it was like to kind of go after them. And I agree with you. Like you guys' clear message is to go after us, you know, like us Americans. And doesn't mean that you can't also like to drink liquid death. Now, putting them on the shelf now that you guys are getting into the bigger vendors like the Circle K and the Walmarts, are you going to be comparable price wise? Because like I was saying in the beginning, I'm sure aluminum cans are very expensive, and we have to convert the people that are buying those plastic water bottles and get them to, you know, drink the aluminum now. For those of you that know or don't know, bulk will get you better margins. So I'm assuming, Jay, like now that you have these bigger chains coming on, you can be comparable price wise.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, the kind of orders we're making on a regular basis now make me want to pass out when I see these numbers, because they're big. But just like you said, when you order more, obviously the price breaks help you a little bit. We also recently switched to direct print cans, which also was a massive order, but though that also at the end of the day is good for your cost structure. So all those things have contributed to us being competitive. And listen, um, it's like any bigger company, whether it's Liquid Death or it's Coca-Cola. There's only so much a company our size can compete with them on their costs. So, but when you're in this business, you know that you're going to have to spend a little bit more and make a little bit less for a while as you're building your story. So, we're comfortable with where we are. We're thrilled with our velocity of sales and our rebuys, and as I was mentioning earlier about our retail footprint, when you look at where we were last, call it May, June, when we were getting to our first stores, we're only whatever 7 months later, and if you take into consideration the stores that we're about to go into now, we're over 2,000 stores.
Wow.
So it's been very, very fast. And I didn't anticipate that. I didn't know what to anticipate, but it's been a hell of a ride, and it's a lot fun. It's a lot more fun when it goes well.
Totally.
Yeah.
So what's next on the horizon?
So I wish I had something to announce today, but what I can tell you is that we have several grocery store chains that we are actively talking with. And so I'm expecting and hoping that I'll have some announcements soon. I'm sorry I can't make those today, but
We'll do
what
a
we
part two. Don't worry.
perfect. That sounds great. But what we have done, which is amazing, we're super excited about our NASCAR partnership. We partnered with Chase Briscoe and with Joe Gibbs Racing, which is huge. We've also recently partnered with Rock the Country, which is a country music tour
Nice.
with some amazing artists. And there's another one. There's a Desert Rodeo that's out in Coachella Valley that's going to be coming up as well. So we've got some really cool stuff that we're doing this year. In addition to, we've been doing tailgates with 680 The Fan, the radio sports station in Atlanta, at football games and baseball games and all kinds of things. So, for and we've done rodeos. We did the 4th of July thing in Nashville last year with Dirk Bentley, the Music City Rodeo with Jelly Roll and Reba McEntire, Tim McGraw.
So
Uh,
fun.
yeah, we did something with Riley Green. I mean, I could go on, but the fact that our brand has already done these things and we have all these things on the horizon that we're working on is just, it's almost hard to fathom. So but we're also, again, this goes back to what I said. You know, we're not here just to piddle around and dip our toe. We wanted to go in, and the way I see it is Liquid Death created this category, and there really isn't a viable number two competitor in that category, and so that's where we're heading. That's where we intend to be. Not that I'm the kind of person that loves being number two, but I'll take number two for now, and down the road, maybe it'll be a different conversation. But that's where we are, and that's where we're heading.
I love it. Where do you need to get into next? Where are your next markets that you feel like you need to make a splash in?
Yeah, it's a really good question because it's also there's a optionality to what we're looking at. So back to the whole not dipping my toe. So we're basically blanketing the Southeast at this point in time, with all of the different things we've got going on, building out our DSD network, et cetera. But we get inquiries all the time from other places. I mean, Texas, Iowa, North Dakota, California, Nevada. I can't tell you all the places that we've already had discussions. And so, as you know, as a veteran of this business, once you start spreading out and going national, everything changes. And I don't want to do it in such a way that uh, doesn't allow us to be successful, meaning that we need to have the foundation set. We need to have people. We need to have coverage of these areas. We need to be building awareness there. We need to be, have people on the ground sampling out in the community. So, it's one of these chicken and the egg things where, I use the term responsibly aggressive. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be responsibly aggressive and take advantage. The iron's hot, and so we're trying to take advantage of those opportunities. At the same time, we do need to be methodical and strategic about how we move across the country. So I think what you'll see is later this year, we'll start to take advantage of some of the opportunities that are coming our way, and maybe you'll see us start to creep across the country a little bit, with the thought that maybe by the end of this year, or certainly by this time next year, we have more of a national footprint. So that's the goal. How we get there, my guess is not going to be a straight line. I think it's going to be a curvy road, but that's okay.
That's okay. I like it. I'm
Yeah.
stealing that other line from you. I love a new good line. So, my listeners out there who have not tried Freebird, you can go on their website. It's drinkfreebird.com, correct, Jay?
That's
And
right.
they have to follow you on Instagram. Jay's always got some fun content on there. My Floridians are dying and wanting to know where they could buy the product. We're cousins of Georgia, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, sure. Um, so we once we have our Circle K um, activated, we will be in, like I said, just under 1,000 stores, and that includes Florida. So we will
Yay.
be in Circle K's soon, near you, which I'm really really pumped about. And again, not to burst any bubbles and make people mad, because I a lot of times I talk too much. We do have some others in the hopper that we're working on that will also help to fill out that Florida footprint a little bit more. So that's coming soon. So and obviously Florida is a humongous, really important market. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah, of course. I need to refill my cup. I drank
Good.
two tall boys. This is my third. I told you I'm a water girl. Favorite beverage. Sorry to all my booze brands, but this is what I drink all day long. I'm a
And by
camel.
the way, we also have 12 ounce
How dare you? I don't
I
have
know.
those little suckers. Where
I'm so
where can I
sorry.
find those?
Well, we developed those because we knew that those would be, perhaps better options for some of the bigger box retailers to sell like in 12 packs. So um, you can find those on Amazon. You can find
Ooh,
them, from our website, and soon you will see them in stores, whether it be Walmart or in some grocery chains as well. So yeah, so that was the first product
line
differentiation.
extension. Yeah.
Yeah. And then next, you had asked that question. I guess I didn't really answer it fully. We're in the process of starting to test out flavors, so that will most likely be our next extension, and that probably is later this year or early next year. We're still working through it, but it's a fun process.
I love that. So fun. And you can get fun with the flavor combinations if you want to.
Yeah,
Um, I think maybe we should put a poll up for my listeners and see if they have like top 5 flavors that they recommend, and maybe you
love
guys
it.
will win. That would be fun.
I love that. Yeah. Because, one of the things about flavors are real tricky because, in some cases, and this is just me speaking, sometimes I'll look on the shelf and I'm a beverage nerd now. So I look at everything every time and take pictures and, people probably think I'm weird, but, um, and sometimes I see these flavors and I'm like, what on earth is, mango, blueberry, some guava or whatever. And then I find out, it's like selling like hotcakes. So, to have your finger on the pulse of the flavors that are of interest to your audience, it really matters. That research and that market data is critical. So we're in that phase of it right now.
I agree. And there's all different flavors, right? So I was talking to another brand recently and they were like, watermelon. There's the watermelon that tastes more like the water and less sugary. Then there's like the candy flavor that's like the Jolly Rancher. So there's definitely different avenues of flavors when it comes to fruits. I don't know if you're going fruit only or if you're going to do a little cucumber situation or something, mint, but I think that'd be fun. We'll put up a poll and see if people can do some votes, and maybe Jay will pick your flavor. That would be pretty cool. Pretty all
That would
American.
that would be great. Yeah, yeah. Because hey, listen, I'm a big believer of giving the people what they want. So
Yes.
what they say, it's not what I say, it's what they say.
Oh, you sound like you're a great husband too, Jay. That's a good line.
Yeah, I don't know that always translates. I try to do right. I can't suggest I'm 100% accurate all the time there, but I try.
That's that Southern charm. I
Yeah.
love it. Well, I appreciate you being here. I would love to give you a little bit of time to, say anything that you want to leave my audience with, or if there's any questions that you want to ask me, I'm all ears.
Well, first of all, yeah, thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed watching some of your previous episodes. I was particularly interested in the one that you had your family on, which was a lot of really interesting banter. Uh, and then
Yeah.
I noticed the other day, being I guess because I'm old, I've been watching MTV a long time, and I saw Johnny Bananas on there,
Yeah.
and so that was pretty good.
Thank you.
But again, I appreciate you having me, and I guess all I can say is this: I'm so very fortunate for the support that Freebird has gotten to date. It's hard to fathom, how we have done so much so fast, and the support has been just unbelievable, truly unbelievable. People like Sam and others have been so supportive of us. So number one, I have to say thank you. And for those of us who don't know about us, please check us out again at drinkfreebird.com. And you can check us out on all socials. We're everywhere. We're trying to tell the world who we are, and I think that I've got such a fantastic team, and so they're doing a great job of making us look great. And then I guess the last thing that I would say is that one of the great perks of this new profession of mine is I get to spend time with folks like yourself doing these podcasts, And so I always love the opportunity to talk about the brand, talk about our plans and what we're doing. But that couldn't happen unless there's folks like yourself doing what you're doing. So I appreciate it.
Aw, thanks, Jay. That's so sweet of you. I'm happy to have you on and share your story, and I can't wait for you to move from number 2 to number 1. I believe it's coming. I'll help you any way I can. All the listeners, if you didn't fall in love with Jay and Freebird yet, I encourage you to purchase the product. Try it. It is delicious. We have still and sparkling Freebird water. We have very cool merch also. I have my own trucker hat, but there's t-shirts and some other cool swag up there, which, like I said, it's a nice nod to Mr. Skinnerd, but very cool, fun to wear all the time and support the brand. Jay, thank you for being here. And I'll see you guys next time on Sippin' and Selling.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sipping and Selling
With Joey Chanel.